this week we're drinking rosé.
Changes every week.
It's gonna change every week. Okay, so we're gonna start with the recap. Who wants to
Monday. You went first.
I did go
That
first.
was you got.
Oh my god, I feel like it was so long ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This is probably gonna annoy her. I'm gonna try and keep my head right here. I ended up not understanding what a TPR lesson really was, and then going into it, I felt really good about it actually.
You did really well.
I taught about prepositions, and what I did with it is we created an anchor chart together where I had already like these types of prepositions on there. I had the words, and then I had them place a little like square piece of paper in relation to what the word says. So if it said like above, I had a line and they would place the square above the line. So that was part of it, as I wanted to have that physical of like I'm putting it above the line. But then we went into, we all took our chairs and we had to use our chairs, and whenever I shouted out a prepositional phrase, you had to put yourself in relation to the chair with that prepositional phrase. So like we had to go through the chair at one point. That was really fun. And in general, I think it went really well. I just love our students. As a side note, I've kind of learned to, because Alfonso is our student who's an L1 who doesn't have English language, and I've kind of learned that for me, with a middle schooler, one of the best ways to interact and socialize with him in such a way that I'm connecting with him and so he can trust me is through social media. We were on the playground, and he doesn't speak, I mean, he speaks English, but very, very little English. Like, I'll ask him questions, and he'll be like, I don't know, it's okay. And so we sat on the playground, and I brought out my phone, which probably I shouldn't have done, but I did it anyway because no one else was around. And we looked through the Snapchat filters on my phone, which is like, if you don't know what that is, it's like it captures your face.
She said that she has Snapchat.
You have Snapchat?
Or she was talking about it in class.
Yeah, but she just discovered it or something.
Yeah.
Well, Snapchat filters. Alfonso and I were looking at the Snapchat filters, and it was really fun to see him like light up because we were connecting without words. And it was a fun way to interact with him. Anyway, that was my 2 cents for this week.
Yours was really fun.
Yours was really fun. And under the chairs.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun because everybody went under the chair in a different way, but they still were physically going under the chair. Like some people crawled under it. Brittany lifted the chair up and put herself under it. It was funny. But it was all the same. It all meant the same thing. It's just you can do it in different ways.
But they can see that, which is good because it's like it has more than one meaning in application.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I felt the same way as you. Like, I don't think I understood what TPR was. And so I feel like my lesson was boring. It was boring, and I didn't like it. And after when Joy Nyberg was going over what other people did, like with science and like forces or kite and motion, I really wish I would have done something like that. Because grammar is just so not fun.
It's really tough to do a TPR lesson on grammar, and I got lucky because I basically just Google searched TPR lessons, and prepositions was one of the things, and I know what prepositions, like I really have a solid foundation in what prepositions are, because I remember teaching it to an old classroom. And so it's just, that's like probably the hardest thing is we just didn't have a good enough understanding. I feel like we really do now, but like before it was like, total physical response. T.
And like I had that I did, the sentence pattern chart was an example in one of my classes. Like a teacher gave that as a super quick example, so I was like, oh, I guess that's TPR, I'll do that. So good to know now.
I thought it was
I liked it, and I think they all liked getting to, because what was so nice about yours too, is all they had to do was star things, and we all
That was the
it was easy for them,
comprehensible.
and they still got to participate without feeling nervous that they were going to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which led really well into mine because we could refer to the cat sentence that you built for adjectives, and then I did more of the typical TPR where they're doing motions associated with like vocabulary.
We each had different kinds, I guess.
Yeah. And so she used a sentence about a cat in her lesson. So for adjectives, we did like a cat. Was it ears?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
For adjectives, so yellow. I had a yellow card. I had all the cards with different colors, and each one had adjective, noun, adverb, verb, and punctuation. And then each of them had emotion, and we did them in different order. And they actually participated in the movements way more than I thought that they would. Being middle schoolers, I was like, they're not gonna like this, but they were into it, and we got silly about it. They were like,
so much fun.
And then the one thing I would have changed though was when we were like building sentences with the cards. So where the word appeared in the sentence is where the card kind of sequenced. I didn't realize there could be more than one noun in a sentence.
Yeah.
I think about that, like having two of them so that they can put them in an exact order. And I wrote that in my response of what I would do differently. But I think the motions overall really stuck with them. And if we talked about it tomorrow, I feel like they would know it. They would remember.
I would agree. Well, if you were to say verb, they would probably do the superhero pose.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And then we're going into teaching our own extension lessons this week, which I'm really nervous about because I don't like this much freedom.
Yeah, it's hard, but we have to. This is.
I guess it's like doing. It's like being a teacher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little nervous. But I'm ready.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Next.
Yeah, legal requirements.
So we want to talk about next.
Was the next article reading kind of?
Yeah. So I think we were discussing before we started recording, like exactly how we wanted to talk about legal requirements because I think the three of us really understand legal requirements pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no real gray area with legal requirements, and there's not really any pondering that you need to do.
Right.
Well, what does this mean? It is very cut and dry, black and white. All those other metaphors for.
Yeah.
And I think what we really wanted to talk about was actually the fact that Donald Trump is here this week. And like, what does that mean for our future and for the children of our future?
Was it? I think it was Joy who like said that one of the teachers did bullying and like was. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she like had students watch clips of presidents speaking, and she was like, find parts where you
feel like he's being bullied.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that you even say that because I actually saw this video that Western posted.
Oh.
Western Front has videos now, if you like them on Facebook, where somebody was at the Donald Trump rally and the protesters were just holding signs and they were chanting "Love Trump's hate, love Trump's hate, love Trump's hate." So it was like kind of like, oh my gosh, wow, like this powerful, like I love you regardless of how hateful you are. And then this man walking up going, show me one example of how he's hateful. And the protesters never responded.
Yeah.
And they just continued chanting and ignoring him. And I feel like that's a good example of fighting back in a way that is peaceful.
Yeah.
It's a peaceful protest. And anyway, if I were to, I don't know how to quite push this back into legal requirements, but I definitely have a fear that if Donald Trump becomes our president, which is now a very real possibility, I worry that we're going to become a nation that is English only. We're going to become a nation that segregates the classroom from those with disabilities. Like the pull-out system is going to come back. I think our education is doomed.
Yeah. Not even in terms of specific legal changes, but more in the way of which it's so representative, in my opinion, of how the government and how our country functions, is what us as teachers and as students look at. And it's what I feel like the classroom is a small country in itself, and a bubble in which we're practicing and learning what the world is like, and thinking of the implications about that. What the country is as it stands sets a tone and sets a expectation, I guess, in the classroom, and a setting that can either be looking towards one direction or the other, if that makes sense. I feel like it's very hyper-focused on the world, and we encourage that as teachers. We want students to be critical thinkers and to be seeing it for what it is, and with love and kindness and all these things. But and this might be a little bit of a tangent, but for somebody who disagrees with like working for the government as a teacher, this could be a nutty question. Working for the government as a teacher, but not necessarily agreeing with the way that things are happening or functioning, but while still adhering to the legal requirements that the government sets. I don't
so how do you
know.
do that?
And I think it's more of a thing of morality and knowing that whatever's best for the kids and the knowledge. But as teachers, we are the translators of knowledge and of like our opinion, whether we directly say it or not, or how we carry ourselves, or I remember teachers in elementary school, I would know their beliefs not because they told me, but because
you just knew them.
Yeah,
you knew them.
But I want them to form opinions for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the practice that I'll have to learn, without disrespecting the umbrella of what we are kind of working under.
Yes.
Am I making sense?
No, you're totally making sense.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I was thinking about with like the whole Trump thing. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, how would I feel as a teacher if I taught in London? And you know, like my extension lesson is going to be about immigration. Like, what if I wanted to talk about immigration and there were some kids that were like, it's horrible. Like, they should.
Yes, that's a good.
We should have a wall.
Yes.
Like, how do you?
Well, the thing. So I went to the internship meeting yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And there was a girl I sat next to, and she and I got to talking about the rally that was happening, and and I was like, oh yeah, I really wish I could go, but I just don't feel comfortable going by myself. Like, I would really like to go protest. And she was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go. And I was like, oh, you're protesting? She goes, no. I'm like, I really want to know what he's got to say. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, you know, there are some things I definitely agree with him. And she's a teacher. And there's part of me that was like, how? Because to me, especially working with migrant youth right now, and how much I love our students, and like, they are, like, they have immigrated from Mexico. Like, that is exactly what Donald Trump wants to stop.
Yes.
Is this immigration from Mexico. And it makes me sad to think that, because I don't know the immigration story of our students, like, there's a real possibility that they all could be undocumented. And it scares me to think that they're going to be taken away from this opportunity that they have, because right now with us, they are learning so much, and we are getting to teach them so much, and not just, you know, like, teaching them about grammar, but they're really learning about social skills too. And it makes me scared to know that there are people out there who really support somebody who believes that the Mexican people just needs to be they need to be shut off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. And something that I have been hesitant with in the past has been politics in general.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been like, oh, it's a voodoo, like we don't talk
so
about
important
it.
right
but
now.
But no, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's something that I used to choose not to be very opinionated about, and just kind of hush hush. But these are very real things that I'm entitled as an American citizen to have these opinions and these hopes for my country, and especially my students. And I think these discussions are important and shouldn't be shied away from.
Oh my gosh.
And these legal, I guess, requirements or whatever, these things that are very prevalent in the classroom, not even including Donald Trump, are discussions that need to happen with the community of which they pertain to, and shouldn't be seen as quiet or hush hush about it. I don't know.
Yeah. So how do you word that question? Like, how do you find that balance?
Yeah, I guess.
How do you find the balance between being how do you find the balance between being a teacher and also caring about your country, I guess? Because I think we're in a time right now that's I don't think we've seen in America in a very, very long time, if at all, where we are on the cusp of having a president who could change a lot of things, and it could be really scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to compare it to Adolf Hitler, but that's the comparison we immediately go to.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things, because Casey, my fiance, he's a historian, and his argument is, he says, because I'm a historian, you can never use Hitler as an example because you lose the argument. But he himself has been like, you can't not.
Yeah.
This is what he is doing is the same. He's incredibly charismatic. He even has a hand motion that everybody does. It's scary.
Yeah.
He's got.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It is reminiscent of Adolf Hitler, in my opinion, and it is in such a way too, in that he is so incredibly racist. Did you guys see what he posted on Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, I did.
The tacos or something?
So Donald Trump, if you don't know, Joy, which I'm assuming you do, he posted a picture of him eating a taco bowl in Trump Towers, and saying, and the caption was, eating some of the best Mexican food at Trump Towers, and then he says, I love Hispanics. First of all,
he said the best Mexican food is made in Trump Towers.
Yes, which is so offensive on so many levels. Plus the fact that he said, I love Hispanics, when Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican holiday.
Specifically.
Yes.
For one house.
Celebrating the end of a French war, I believe.
Yeah.
In Puebla.
Yeah.
Look at me.
It's like this tiniest town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he doesn't know that. He has no idea. And so what he posted to me was so incredibly just grasping at straws of I'm not a racist. I eat Mexican food. Not only that, but the most American Mexican food.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I don't know. I just, in terms of students and in terms of teaching, I am a little bit scared.
Yeah.
I'm really scared.
But also, I just fear, I don't know. I want my students, and it's everything we learn and everything.
Oh, thank you.
Everything that we've been learning and been taught, especially in the LLC program, is opposite
of everything
of
he says.
what he says, and so it's just a little bit
Well, I think,
uncomfortable.
It's really uncomfortable.
I think a girl in our major, I forgot who it was, I think it was Lexi, I don't know if you guys know Lexi.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She posted this picture and she was like, or something in a meme, and it was like, if teachers said what Donald Trump said, we would be fired.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, in any workplace, if anyone
I think we
like
should
Donald
ban
Trump,
all Muslims.
Yeah.
I think we need to ban them all. Just a temporary ban, but we should ban them.
In any workplace, if anyone said any of those things, they would be fired.
Yes, absolutely. But it's the worst part about it all is it's gaining him more and more and more support, and that scares me.
What does that say about the people?
Yeah, exactly.
At the same time, because people who are choosing to engage in this are engaging in it for a reason, and so
it says that we need to educate them. Because the fact of the matter is, and this is something I've come to learn so much in Woodring, is that being colorblind to race is 10 times worse than acknowledging that it exists and that there is a racial divide in our country. Yeah. Not just between like blacks and whites, but like also Hispanics and whites, and like there's just a racial divide. Like Arab people in general. Like there was a video I watched recently where would have been great. I wish I had remembered who it was, where they were trying to show a Sikh versus a Muslim, and people were like, I don't know what a Sikh is, but that's a Muslim. And it's like, no, that's a Sikh person, and you're like, you're wrong.
Speaking of which, I was driving down to work, and there was a Sikh wedding going on, and it was like super traditional. There was colors, and I felt very, excited that it was, I was excited to celebrate internally with them.
You almost got to, you were excited you got a glimpse into something so personal.
And beautiful, and and it just freaks me out that, like, that freedom to celebrate openly, and that freedom to just be religiously open and is so great. And it kind of switched my mind back to what we've been talking about, the political debates, and like that could just be eradicated so quickly. I don't know. It was just very beautiful to see that. Yeah.
Do you want to move on?
Yes.
Right. Enough of Donald Trump. Don't worry, Joy, we're not voting for him.
I worded the question like, how do you find a balance between being a teacher and being surrounded by very prominent / strong political opinions?
Yes, good. I like that. Next on our list is sustainability in the classroom. We had a little discussion before this about what that really looks like, and we kind of concluded that sustainability of a classroom's culture and adhering to the needs to every student while accomplishing an overall goal that can continue in its health continuously and strongly. And I know that the article talked more about what that looks like on a broader sense, and like liberal democracy as the definition of what that looks like and how it applies to, there was just like little application to the classroom, so we were just talking about how we can use that knowledge to translate it into a classroom environment. That right there was like a good synopsis.
Sorry. I found it. The basic tenets of liberal democracy.
Yeah.
And it talks about most humans are unable to govern themselves because they are essentially self-interested creatures, therefore are unable to discern what is in the interest of the common good. Man, doesn't that sound like Trump supporters? Sorry.
I'm so serious on the roll. I am.
talks about authority over well-being is therefore taken out of the hands of the people and located in government bureaucrats, and political parties. Farmers believed in equal rights of all citizens, or framers believed in equal rights of all citizens. However, at the time of the founding of the Constitution, all people are not considered to be worthy and capable of citizenship. Thus, liberal democracy is founded upon the notion of a natural hierarchy among people. So, I don't know, when I read that, I think about, like, how do I make it so there isn't a hierarchy in my classroom? Because I think it's important to consider that.
That could be a muddy question.
That is a good muddy question. So how do I make sure there isn't a hierarchy in my classroom? Because as much as I am the teacher, as much as I am the head of the classroom, I should be more of a guider than I should be a strict leader. Like, there should be a way for me to guide students into thinking and learning something on their own. And sorry, I didn't mean to keep you, Lorena. Like, I think about the science portion that we went through in Woodring, and how oftentimes there was very little direct teaching that we would do, and it was a lot of exploration that they did on their own. And sure, there are times where I do need to directly teach, but I think part of it is student led, and it needs to be student led because that's how we need the world to work in general. It's people helping people, and this throwing out this sense of being the leader, being better. Because here's a good example. I got one.
That was fun.
Our group. I feel like we're very good about like letting everybody be heard in our group. And we all lead in different ways. And I might lead something differently, but where I lead or where I lack, someone else leads. If that makes sense. Like, we have a really good dynamic in our group where I feel both heard and both like I'm listening and I'm learning.
I also think about this idea in a sense of not necessarily the teacher being the hierarchy or the leader, but a particular culture in the classroom, kind of ruling the other cultures to be more inferior, and how one can be more naturally talked about, connected to. I don't know, where we're directing it towards one culture rather than seeing everybody as equal, you know?
And
different, but
I think it's like hard to see sometimes too for me, like not always, but just the fact that you picked up on like in the beginning the intimidation between like Fritzy and the other girl.
Oh yeah. It was totally present.
I didn't pick up on that, but I don't know, like I feel like some things are very easy to see and some things are also hard to see, and like those social things, like I feel like that's hard to control. And
absolutely. And I think that's when it's good to start creating an environment where people feel the freedom and the comfortability. Is that a word?
No, but I say it.
Okay. It sounded like a word.
Comfortability? Muddy question. Is comfortability a word? That's 29 seconds and whatever. Anyway. They feel comfortable to express when they have concerns socially. And not just with their learning. Because social growth is just as important as your mental growth. And I think that's kind of what this is talking about in some ways, is that we should socially feel connected as a team and not as a hierarchy.
Right. Yeah.
This is a communist class. I'm on the politics right now.
I actually remember one of my middle school teachers had like, my middle school teacher, he had like a Dropbox, and like you can drop in
Yes,
questions.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I remember that. I think I had a
too,
sixth grade teacher who did that, and for me, sixth grade was in elementary school still, which
Mine too.
weirded me out now that like sixth
Did you
graders
go
are
to K school?
I went through to a K6, and then I went to a 7 through 9.
Oh.
And then I went, I mean, my schooling experience is very different, and I loved it, and it's bizarre to me that it would be different, because to me, sixth graders are not ready to move on to middle school. Like, and maybe that's not fair of me to say, but I feel like sixth graders are ready to be the leaders. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so hard to be at the bottom of the totem pole when I feel like they're just coming into their own as leaders, and I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole different story about hierarchy.
You went to K school?
I went to a K, yeah.
I went to a K through 6 school, and then I went to a junior high, and then I went to high school, which was 10 through 12. And I don't know, there was something about my 6th grade classroom that we were learning to be leaders, more so than we were just kind of, I don't know, I felt that because I was in 6th grade in elementary school, that my, I always say middle school now because that's the technical term, but my junior high school experience was much more positive because I learned the social skills I needed to, because I was still in a classroom where it was just a core group of 20 people.
Yeah, and that makes sense, even just thinking about high school, just like having 16 to 18, like 18-year-olds are completely opposite of the 14, 15-year-olds that are coming in as freshmen.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it went through
the age gap is huge.
There was something great about being 12 through 12 through 15 in one area, and then 16 on in another, because being 15 and still with kids, I felt, again, I was in a situation where I felt more like a leader. And it was a good opportunity for me to go into a high school that just felt...
That makes a lot of sense.
This is
rabbit hole.
Kind of, total rabbit hole, sorry. But it is, I mean, I guess it goes into this idea of the sustainability and like making sure that kids move on when they're ready to. I learned about this maybe 5 years ago, and I now am in full support of it. I really reject the idea of grades by age. I really vehemently reject it, because there are certain ways I was ready to move on, and there are certain ways I wasn't ready to move on. And we're such a society that considers like, well, you're this age, therefore you must be able to do this, and this. And I reject that. I think that, I think there's a certain point where like, we gotta push you along. But kids move at their own pace, and I think they need to be able to set that pace. And I think this is part of the reason why I love schools that have like, this is a classroom for kindergarten through 2nd grade, this is a classroom for like, so you're working, kindergartners are working in 2nd grade reading levels, and 2nd graders are working in 1st grade math levels. Like, it's this idea that I felt that was sustainable in such a way that it allowed the students to feel successful with themselves, rather than feel like a failure because of their age.
And then it leaves it as an educator, it's your job to push them and to encourage these individuals to seek their potential, not to assume that, people could assume that there leaves some leeway for slacking or whatever, but that's where pedagogy of our teaching comes in and supports that and structures it so that they are on a trajectory that meets them where they're at, rather than just kind of letting them float. You know? Yeah. So I agree.
Okay.
Wait, let's go back before we talk about the video. The other video for the legal requirements where the teachers were sitting together.
Oh, yes.
We'll talk about that really quick. The teacher on the right, I don't think that they said names.
Well, I'm pretty certain that was
staged.
That was stage, Joy. I caught on to that.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, the woman in the middle, who I assume was some maybe a teacher or something.
She had the best acting.
Yeah, she
by
was
the way.
good. I believed her. She's like, well, blah blah blah. But it was just so like, and I know that she was probably purposefully being kind of, but they're very real things, and these are discussions or concerns that teachers, like real teachers, have that want to find a solution that's just not appropriate, and that's bringing in. You know, I wrote in my post, I was like, it frustrates me how because a student doesn't speak the same language, they automatically are seen as unintelligent or they don't have feeling.
Yes.
It's like, how do you not know that? It's seeing yourself completely different. Imagine yourself in that position. Would you want your neighbor knowing all your like school business?
Or just like the sister idea. I was like, really? Like that is
not her
that's
job.
Oh my gosh. Awkward.
Yeah.
Well, and then the woman, I'm assuming she was like playing the part of an ELL specialist.
Yeah.
She did a great job of saying, well, that brings the point of like, this is a sister who is suddenly becoming a leader of her family, and she's not supposed to be.
Yes.
She's supposed to be the child.
Kid.
Yeah. Or how awkward would that be for her to like, I don't know if they did it in front of anyone or like if, I don't know, like that would just be so awkward, or even like their relationship as brother and sister.
Yeah. Kind of like probing her or questioning her, you know, like.
Well, and then she might feel like it's necessary to withhold something.
Right, exactly.
Both ways.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And so I just think it creates an really unsuccessful conversation.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to have interpreters with legitimate credentials.
Yeah.
Can we move on to that now? Okay.
I Learn America.
I loved it. I watched the whole thing last night, sitting on my couch. We watched it, and I'm thinking about making my fiance watch it again. I loved it. I think the part that, okay. I want to be like the student I connected with the most, but that's just not true because I totally connected with them in different ways. But I would say the story that probably fascinated me most was Sandra's, who's from Poland, and she dresses masculine.
Androgynous.
Yeah, she's very androgynous. They talk about several times in the film, they bring up the fact that students were like, I don't know if she's a boy or a girl. What is she?
She was like, her friend was saying, oh, all the girls used to have crushes on her, and then they found out she was a girl.
Yes. And I also found it, I think the part of her story that I find the most fascinating is she's from Poland, and she talked about how it was really hard for her growing up there because she had to be restricted to this box of being a female and what that meant to be a female. And so they talked about often these pictures that they found of her from 8th grade where she's wearing a dress.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? You wore a dress and heels? And she was like, I didn't do a very good job at it. Like, I couldn't do it very well. Yeah. And then that goes into the fact that she said at one point, like, I really hate Poland. I hate my old country because, and I hate everyone from it. And that's what, and she said that. And then her friend said it too, and I don't know if her friend was saying it just to play along, but I think it goes
Where was
into
her
this.
friend from? Did it say?
I don't remember. I don't think they said where she was from.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was talking about how she really resents her country, and it makes me think, and I don't remember if I think there was some sort of reading or something on this, where we talked about, yes, it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, where we talked about students who are adapting to a new culture and end up losing their old culture. Yes, it was last week in that video, and they.
Oh yeah, the Cambodia.
Where it's like they start to lose their old culture in such a way that they resent certain aspects of it. So she really resented her parents because she was like, they expect me dressed like a female.
Yeah.
They expect me to do this and that because I am a woman. And so she resents that, and because of that, she's starting to resent her parents.
In the video, did it say if she identified as male or like trans? Or?
No.
She just doesn't okay.
Yeah, she just identifies as just I'm a female and this is how I dress.
Okay.
And
when her friends tried to teach her how to walk like a girl, and it was just so interesting to see the dynamic because they were having fun.
You're having a great
but
time.
They were honest with the reality of who she was. And not even just culturally, but who she was not made fun of. No. I don't think. But
they loved her. Everyone loved her.
The love.
She became prom queen. It just made my life. Like the best part is at the end of the video when they announce her as prom queen, and she's like, "What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys
she was such a critical thinker, and she saw who she was, who her culture, like what her culture was, and she spoke about it. There was, remember the meeting with the principal and the vice principal, they were talking about being gay.
Oh, yeah.
And she was engaged and asked questions and wasn't afraid to ask the hard questions. She was very honest with her.
She had a really good question. I can't remember.
But
it was really interesting.
Her tenacity was so good to see.
One thing that I really loved about that moment in particular is that it was like these two gay principals who came in and were like, we're here to talk to you about us being gay.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to hear more about your story, but we want to talk to you about our story too, where we're culturally different because we're gay. And so that was so cool. And I wonder if, I mean, there's nothing really I have anything to say, like I'm not gay, I'm totally white, 100%. And I don't really have, like I wish I did so I could talk about it and be like, this is all aspects of me.
Well,
if you have questions, probe me, you know?
It just reminds me of like this little boy at the preschool that I work at, and he has parents that are very like Bellingham liberal, young too, like 30, and they came to us and they told us that he like is showing to identify more as a female, and that they want us to respect that and anything like that. And I was like, okay, and I already knew that. And he comes to school wearing dresses and tutus and things like that, and hangs out with the girls and stuff. And we always
at your bilingual school.
Yeah. And recently, like I noticed, every teacher kind of has their baby names. Like some teachers are like, my baby, or like for me, I call, which I realize now and I don't like and I want to change. I call the boys, I call them my handsomest, my handsome, and the girls, I call them like my princess or sweetie or things like that. And one day him, he had like this tutu or something, and I was like, or I don't know what he was wearing, but I just was like, oh, my handsomest, you're so handsome or something, and he was like, no, I'm beautiful. And I was like, wow, it just really made me,
look at this little 5-year-old.
Yeah, and I was like, and ever since then, I've just like been more cautious to say handsome and princess and things like that. And but just and then so that happened, and then recently too, like one of the coworkers there, he's 20 and he's a boy, and I told him that this student told me, no, I'm beautiful, not handsome. And he was like, he shook his head and he was like, that's what happens when parents like feed into a kid. He's like, that's what happens. They're too young to know if he's male or female, and they just like think that he thinks this, and so they encourage that. I'm like, that was like really hard.
They say kids know what their sexual or their sex is by the time that they are 5. They know if they're male or female by the time that they are 5. And so if they're questioning that, it means something.
Just like remember when you guys were in preschool. I remember when I was in preschool, I had the biggest crush on a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
yeah,
at that
absolutely.
young age,
And I have a really good friend who I grew up with. We were incredibly close, and she just came out as trans.
I have a friend from elementary school too.
Yeah, and she changed her name. Her name was formerly Tyler, and now she's Quinn. And she's going through this process, and it's the first time something like this has struck so close to home. Like, this is somebody who, I mean, we would spend every single weekend together, and I had no idea. And I didn't, frankly, and maybe this is offensive to even say this, but I didn't even suspect that she was gay. No idea, because she dated girls all the time, and all my friends dated her, and now one of the most beautiful things in the world is she's been dating this girl her entire transition.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they are now engaged, and they didn't break up at all. So like the girlfriend, now fiance, went from dating a male to dating a female, and just like my cousin is still really, really, really close to Quinn, and was talking about how the fiance was a struggle. It was not easy at first, but I think there's something about. I wish that Quinn was able to come out sooner. I wish that she was able to, I wish I was able to know her throughout high school, because I feel that her life probably would have been so much easier. And I feel like as teachers, we need to also accept the identity of our children. And maybe this goes back into having Donald Trump is almost that fear of children coming out as being gay, or being trans, or being asexual, whatever it may be. I feel like there's going to be a bigger and bigger fear to do that, especially with the trans community right now. And I remember talking with Casey's family recently, and they don't get it. They do not get it.
The trans?
They do not understand. They think it's just sort of this, like, it's just too liberal, basically. And that's a wrong assumption. Anyway, I think it's really interesting going back into the I Learn America, seeing this girl come to America and feel that she finally has this freedom to dress and act exactly how she wants. And I worry,
and in Brooklyn too.
Exactly.
That's the spot.
And I worry that with Donald Trump, we're going to revert back to where she's afraid.
Yeah.
And she shouldn't be.
When you said about that little boy, when you told me, like, his reaction to you saying that he was handsome, I just thought, like, kids who are in preschool teach us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what a moment, like, you'll probably never forget that he was able to say, no, look,
You
like,
need to
open
tell
your
me
eyes.
this is what I am. And knowing what you are, being like, no, teacher Lorena, I don't know what you're called.
They do call me
that's what I was called.
Not Lorena.
Teacher Sarah.
Sarah.
But he was able to teach you, and it's almost like he held your hand through that process. Like, this is me.
And like, I don't even think he realized, like, it wasn't like something where he like turned and looked at me and was like, no, I'm beautiful. It was like, he was just like playing with this toy thing, and he was like, my handsome, and he's like, no, I'm beautiful. And he just like kept playing with the toy. I was like, of course, like, how could I have,
you are.
Yeah, and it's kind of a hard habit that I have, because handsome, like, I've been saying it for so long working there, so I really need to work on that.
Is he starting to identify as she? Like, are you supposed to be calling him she?
No,
or
he actually,
pronouns haven't changed yet?
Pronouns not yet, but everything else is very,
It sounds like she Sorry, I already was saying she.
Yeah.
It sounds like he wants the pronouns to change by the fact that
Probably
you
so,
said
yeah.
he's ready.
Well, yeah, and just thinking about that too, vice versa, I've seen like this girl she used grammar wrong. She was like she to this boy, and he got so mad. He was like, I'm a he! And I like that didn't make the connection to me as much.
So important to kids.
Yeah, that didn't make the connection to me as much as like when Finn was like, or sorry, I shouldn't have said anything, but when the student was like,
don't share that.
Yeah, when he's like, I'm beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
In the Island America, the names are not coming to me.
I can tell you them. I've got them memorized because I love this movie.
The boy who was fighting kids. Sing.
Got it.
Sing. He was my favorite, and I connected with him the most. When he was in his apartment. Yeah, when he was in his apartment. Because at first I was like, oh, he's just a punk kid, trying to start fights, and he doesn't understand the repercussions. And then I took a step back and realized when he was in his apartment and he was alone making breakfast or something, just sitting there, and the camera crew was just watching him and listening to him speak, and he was saying, like, I want to go see my friends, I want to go do things, I want to just live normally, but I literally don't even know how to because I don't speak the language. And his emotion was trapped.
Yeah.
And I started to cry, and Bryant was like, what's going on? Are you okay? I was like, I can't even imagine myself having to move so many times, learn so many languages, and not even being able to feel comfortable leaving your house.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts. And just to hear that, or to see that he moved away and continued coming back to school, like, that was just so powerful to me, and really, like, made me realize that his retaliation and his actions were not definitive of who he was, but his only way to communicate was physically.
Yeah.
And it was so cute. He'd all call his teachers miss.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't get it, miss. I'm like, you are so respectful. And you can just tell he wanted the best for himself, and he was trying so hard. And his teachers had so much patience with him, and I learned so much just by watching the teachers.
Yeah.
And how they responded, and the questions, having the interview at the beginning of the video. Like, we do these things so that we learn more about you, and just the patience they had, and the intentionality in their voice.
I think one of the best parts about the interview at the beginning of the video was the ELL. I believe she's the ELL teacher.
Yeah.
She asked Singh, and she said, "Why did you come to America?" And he goes, "Have a better life." And she probes and says, "What does that mean?" What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
She said, sometimes having a better life means being married with lots of kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes having a better life is lots of money. What does that mean to you? And he's like, just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because language is part of that. Is he just didn't know.
Or this idea of America being a better place, but without the understanding, like, our world has seen America as this pivotal place of success and transformation. But in reality, when that happens, things, they don't know. Because it's one, it's a cultural adaptation.
Yes.
And two, it's what does this place have to offer, and navigating through it all to know what can I benefit from being here when I don't even speak the language.
He just doesn't know.
Yeah.
He knows enough to know that whatever is here is just better than what he had in Myanmar. And so I think that the part of it is that language. It's just that he can't know because he can't communicate effectively enough to know.
Yeah, that's so interesting about that, because that's how I was raised. Like, my parents were always like, oh, like, so grateful, everything is so much better here, and I was just very grateful and just thought, oh, things are better here, even though I didn't have a clue. And now that I've gone back and visited, it's like, like, I don't know if it's something that if it's just because they're younger and they don't understand fully yet, but now I can see why. Like, for me, like, the only two options for men, it's farming, and for women, it's having children. And then, like, some girls go to the city to study, but it's so dangerous.
Right.
There's And so I don't know, like I imagine it would vary between countries, but that is just very interesting that it's true that as like a kid up until high school, honestly not until like 2 or a couple of years ago that I have gone back and visited, I really understood why it's better, but I just accepted it, that it was better. So true. Sure.
We
Is
do
there-
need another mic
yeah.
question. I'm trying to think of. Let me think. I do want to talk about. I love pronouncing her name, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, so I'm just going to do it anyway. It dropped. I think that's how you pronounce it. I love her name. She, in it, is struggling with this idea of being. And this is me interpreting too much, but I think she's struggling with this idea of being a feminist. And is it an Islamic culture, or do we know which? I can't remember which religion she came directly
I don't
from.
know. She's Pakistani, right?
Yes, she's
Okay.
Pakistani. And she was really struggling at one point with this idea of she is a feminist and she doesn't know what that means and if she's allowed to be.
Right.
Because she was struggling with, like, I don't want to get married.
Yeah.
But I've already been, a man's already been chosen for me, and I'm 17 years old.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I want to go to college. I want to work. And there's this point where the teacher was like, you're so smart. And she goes, and she's like, but I'm never going to get to work. Like, I'm just going to sit at home and have babies, basically. And she's like, that's not the life I imagined for myself. And so, okay, maybe this is a money question. Okay. How do we respect a child's culture but still encourage them to go in the direction that they seem to want to go in? Such as with Itrat, where she really is she's a feminist, and she just doesn't know it.
Even when the teacher was talking to her and kind of called her out and said, why would you settle for that? I had a little bit of hesitation because I know what she said was very true and very culturally sound.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a little bit difficult for me to see her do that because to me, like, holding on to cultural beliefs are very important, but there's some like that one that it may be important to her family, but it doesn't have to be important to her.
Yes.
And at what point do you feel comfortable calling that out and saying you're capable of so much more than what your family or your culture has set out for you?
Yes.
Because there's a boundary.
With that, how do you be respectful with that? Because it's true. She was meant for so much more than just being married and having children, because her thoughts throughout the whole thing were she's just such an intelligent girl.
And a girl like that is very receptive to the mentors in her life, and not only because she seeks knowledge, but because of how her culture is just very respectful of the elders, right? And so having that power, words are very important. And so what you say to somebody could influence their decision highly.
Yes.
And that is just such an intense thing. Like, if you were ever faced with that situation, you could potentially like influence them to like resist that. And that, like, either decision that she's gonna make, if she resists it or goes for it, is gonna be polar opposite.
Exactly. There's no balance. It's one or the other.
That's the scary thing.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started taking social justice classes and I was learning like words like microaggressions and feminism and things like that, or internalized racism. That was like what really gave me like power and strength, like having a definition for feelings I felt but I couldn't explain.
Yes.
Totally. And that happens in religion and in school in different aspects, or even medically.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I have this. You feel so much better about
knowing.
Yeah.
So
true.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Joy. I hope you have a great week.
We will see you
next week.
Week.
Like this. With something like this.
Okay.
Bye, John!
Bye!